So that will create another dependency. Fitbit is a dependency itself. What a joy was to walk. Now I have to count. Am I taking 10,000 steps? What a nonsense.
There's an app for that.
So, the whole purpose is to have a pleasant and joyful experience, but when there is a must equals stress. So, I must take 10,000 steps. Well, you're just feeding stress in your mind. I must do this exercise. You're feeding stress in your mind. No matter how much exercise you do, it's not going to be a significant, because stress is going to erode you from inside out. So, you go to a doctor, you must relax. Excuse me? I'm
God, I gotta relax.
unrelaxed. I was relaxed before you said must relax. So you see, how do we condition our mind? It's an amazing thing. Um, and the point of zoning out, this is what the teachers call vigilance. The life of a vigilant is a real life. If you're not vigilant, you're not awake. And so whole personality has to come into that experience, and that makes it liveliness. Like you're taking all your wealth that you have accumulated so far and staking it in a black or white or black and red on a roulette table all at once, and think about what will go in your whole personality. That is what each experience is. That's what Christ said, that I will spew the lukewarm out of my mouth. Fullness. Do we have that capacity to provide that fullness in every experience that we encounter? So, vigilance. If I put a plank, what do you call a plank? A wood piece? A plank, a 3 feet wide and 20 feet long, and I ask you to walk, what would you say? Oh, easy peasy. I can walk, right? And it's not a difficult task, and an easy task, and you can do it in your unconscious. But if I take the same plank over 200 feet high building, two buildings, and 20 feet apart, and put that plank and I ask you to walk and cross that, so same plank that you were saying easy peasy, now you're not going to do that. You're going to say, oh, I can't do this. This is impossible. You will have so much fear. You wonder why? Because we don't want awareness in our life. We want to live a life of unawareness.
Wouldn't it be awareness that
So, because it requires whole awareness to walk in that plank. So we want to do all the easy stuff so we don't need to be aware. Remember, the point is we want to choose the easy stuff in our life, a comfortable life, so to say. And comfortable life is a life of a dead man. Comfortable life is a life of a dead man. That doesn't mean that you translate I'm talking about uncomfortability and we should just embrace all kind of uncomfortability. No. I'm talking about the mental approach, the inner striving. That's what I'm talking. It has nothing to do with outer experience. Remember, in all my language, outer is going to be secondary, inner is going to be primary. If I ask you what is more important, cause or effect, what will be your answer? Cause. Effect is secondary. So outside, when an experience is taking place, is that an effect or cause?
That's effect.
It's effect. So when an experience is taking place, it's already too late. It's an effect. Don't create a big hoopla of the effect. If you're getting angry, don't make a big mess of anger at that time. You have to look at deep down, where is this anger coming from? Don't fight with anger, because every time you try to fight with effect, you're going to be loser. You have to find out where is the cause. Maybe the cause is hidden because you have considered yourself princess or prince all along. Maybe the cause is that because you have no self-worth and you built so much expectations, entitlement, and when those expectations and entitlement are not met, then you get angry and upset and irritated. So instead of fighting with anger, what should we fight with? How to change my expectations? How to change my perception that I don't fall into some different wrong identification? Are you following here? Life of unawareness is a life of comfortability. A child is unaware, so he's easy. He's living easy life. A mature life requires awareness. A man went to a yogi and he said to the yogi that I want to learn principles of a spiritual life. And yogi said, fine, come with me. And he took him to the coconut tree. And he said, go on the top of this coconut tree. And the man said, what the heck? I'm here to learn the spiritual principles and you're asking me go to the top of this tree? He said, well, you want to learn the principles or not? If you want to learn, then this is the way. The young man said, okay. He went top of the tree and it was a tall tree. And when he was coming down, he was only 3-4 feet away. The yogi said, be careful. After he came down, the young man, he said, what kind of a yogi you are? Are you crazy? When I was going that so 50-60 feet high, you never said to me, be careful. When I was like 3-4 feet away from the ground, you said to me, be careful? He said, this is the first principle that I want to teach you. This is the first principle that I want to teach you. When you were striving, when you were taking a difficult task, when you were going up, you were cautious. But when it became so easy that you were only 3-4 feet away from the ground, and remember, if you fall from 3-4 feet, you get injured also. If you have seen the coconut tree, you can injure yourself. And if you are that close, you may lose your awareness. And that is the time that I had to point you out, be careful. So whenever you become too comfortable with your life, you are losing awareness. Are you following here? There is a very important principle. Most of the accident, happens close to home when people drive. So Vedanta, what is Vedanta? There are two words in Vedanta, Vedas and Anta. Vedanta. Vedas were the encyclopedia of that time. It only means knowledge. It meant all kinds of knowledge. External knowledge, internal knowledge, all kinds of knowledge, whatever knowledge. It had everything. It had science, it has psychology, it had medicine, it had the agricultural aspect,
City governance.
you name it. It was an encyclopedia. And those are the Vedas, by the way, down there, some of the books which are there, written in Sanskrit. And 90%, or I will say 80%, is crap. Nothing. Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit put together. But because we don't study them, and because we have this conditioning that, oh, I must not say anything bad about them, so I'm afraid to say anything bad. But no, I'm not afraid. If something is crap, it is crap. 80% is that basically supposed to be in trash can. Okay? Because it's a language of those days. It is a language which are not necessary into the modern time. It's just an information. But 20% is so powerful. It is so essence, so much that it can be amazing. So we relate to that 20%. We don't relate to information. So I'm not going to talk about the information aspect, that how they live there, what kind of expectation, and the historical aspect, and also the technological aspect, the medicine aspect, or other things. That's not part of this class. That's the information. Are you following here? But I'm going to relate to that 20% aspect. You know, the conditioning I was talking about, as long as I am saying I'm happy because I have a tea in my hand, what is that? It is a conditional statement, and it is a life of a beggar. So it doesn't matter what I have. I may have the whole world with me. I may be the president. But if I am saying I'm happy because of, then I am really living a life of a beggar. All external conditioning is a life of a beggar. And remember, if I ask you, we talked about suffering a little bit. Now, what is happiness? Why do we become happy? What makes us happy?
Lack of suffering.
You would be surprised to hear the answer, what I have in my mind
Nothing.
right now.
We're happy already.
Well, then you're done. You're over.
It's your natural
Well,
state.
we're just not aware that
It's your
we're
natural state.
Uh, you guys complicate the subject a lot.
Happiness
good.
isn't something you add. You get rid of everything and then happiness is left.
Like for example, happiness. That's correct. So we will get back to that aspect in a second. But what I'm saying, why do generally mankind become happy? Answer me that question if you want to
Yeah,
answer.
so you'd be normal. Because the conditions that are pleasurable.
Okay. And now you hear this, because this is a very significant aspect where I want to take you today. We become happy because we compare. Forget about everything else. We have become happy as a mankind because we compare. If we drop comparison, we are not happy. So there is a constant comparison going on in our mind for our happiness. Imagine that you are in a space where nothing else exists other than you. What will make you happy? This is a practice. I'm not expecting you to answer that. It's a part of contemplation. What will make you happy? So majority of the Vedic scripture is this discussion that I will be happy if my neighbor's crop is dissolved. So how do I practice my spirituality that my neighbor crops is gone? So I will have a good crops and I will make more money than my neighbors and I will have a better place to live, and God give me that strength. God give me that power. That's why I'm saying crap. I wanted to give you the reasoning for that. It's that cheap kind of statement, and forget in Vedas, many other religious scriptures which I do not want to take name has the same kind of a crap. Okay? But dare not that we can say something and we can awaken our inner power within ourselves. Dare not. So these 20% is called the essence of Vedas, right? And that is what Vedanta is. Anta means essence, in a sense. Many times when I translate it, it is also direct translation and it is an interpretation of the word. It's not exactly. I'm not a scholar in Sanskrit, although I have studied through Sanskrit, and someday if you would be interested to know my background, I will share some, but not today. Vedanta has 68 verses. That's what we are going to discuss. So Vedanta class, the first part of the class, which is around 24 to 30 weeks, is going to be a discussion of 68 verses. These verses are like aphorism. I can take one verse, just one verse, and can